Hello everyone, Charting Man Dan here from the Chart Guys, looking at the charts and seeing a big green day out there today. So we know one day doesn't mean anything, but there are some notable observations that I'm going to make today, and there are some key levels now that are a bit set in stone for me. And we're going to shift things and say if the bulls are going to prove something to us, and we're going to make a checklist of what we need to see play out from here. So we had, today is the day when tax loss selling is done because the shares have to settle and there's not enough trading days left in the year for that to be the case. So essentially, we had downward pressure from tax loss selling definitely being a big part of it and leading to a little bit of a climax bottom. And so now we have bounces in response to that downward pressure being taken off. So for me from here, as you know, I've been talking about this 2-week time frame on the S&P 500 where the only outlook for the bulls is a 2-week inverse head and shoulders for me in this where we stand right now. The only way that we are going to shift the narrative and shift the momentum is if we confirm the first 2-week uptrend since the all-time high. And again, if we see that happen, we are then closer to all-time high than the fear low. That's a big if, because the bulls have to prove a lot to us for that to happen. But looking at this now with the green day today, I can say that if that pattern is going to play out, that's got to be the 2-week high or low right there. And it's a bit of an equilibrium where we have the high of the bounce, low, lower high, higher low, and we're tightening up on the 12-hour time frame. Some people may have been talking about this being a potential diamond reversal pattern. So it's a tightening 12-hour range. We got one more trading day left in the year, and we're watching this 12-hour downtrend resistance. But again, the bottom line for me is the simple statement is if that's going to be a 2-week inverse head and shoulders, the bottom needs to be set. Because if we drop down and break the low from this point forward, then that's going to significantly increase probabilities that we're heading back down towards our fear lows eventually. So looking at SPY, there's a 387.41 key resistance level, but again, the must-hold support is now 374. So an aggressive bull looking longer term is going to be using that level as a stop loss and knowing that we have to shift momentum from here. The healthcare and the financial sector is doing everything that the bulls want to see. It's the tech sector and NASDAQ related names that are not. And so we have to see QQQ and big tech generals shift momentum and join Team Bull. Otherwise, you can throw that 2-week inverse head and shoulders out the window. The best case scenario for the bears would be, there's two things. In the short term, it would be for the S&P 500 to reject from this 12-hour resistance, set a lower high, have a red day tomorrow, and then to start the year, see another leg down. Another scenario would be S&P 500 bulls get a bounce going, but it's just like last time where we set a weekly high or low and then confirm the weekly downtrend back to fear lows. So it would be setting a weekly high or low, confirming a weekly downtrend, and heading back to fear lows. So probabilities still favor the bears, but I'm just laying out the scenario. Okay, if the bulls are going to prove this to me, this has to happen. So NASDAQ, bounce underway. The 12-hour downtrend is a lot more clear. Again, S&P 500, 12-hour equilibrium. NASDAQ, 12-hour downtrend. We haven't confirmed a 4-hour uptrend yet. This move came straight off the low. So we know into tomorrow and into Tuesday, Monday is no trading, we have to see a 4-hour trend change confirmed for bounce follow through on the daily time frame. Then we zoom out and we're just taking it one time frame at a time. The video from yesterday, we talked about the 12-hour historical RSI on the NASDAQ, and it worked well in the sense that we bounced from the same area that we bounced from the last 5 times that we've tested it. And I want to differentiate between signals. There's as a technical analyst, there's things that I can highlight that make me money, and there's things that I can highlight to myself that save me money. And yesterday was an example of saving me money, where bears in full control. We're in free fall, big tech rolling over, Apple breaking key support. But I sell half of my remaining bear position, which at that point is down to a quarter or less from the original position, because of this signal. This signal wasn't enough for me to say, I'm going long, but it was enough for me to say, I'm taking profit. And that's just an example of, again, it's not an extremely confident signal, but it's enough to act on. And another example is again, that Netflix chart. So Netflix had a red flag for bears yesterday, and then today it goes plus 7% or something nutty. So again, the signal for me yesterday on Netflix wasn't enough for me to go long Netflix, but it was enough for me to pass up a short. And the reason was Netflix divided by QQQ. Again, if you are going to see the bears prove themselves, you want to see the individual name breaking bearish, and then you want to see the correlation breaking bearish as well. And we saw Netflix divided by QQQ holding daily support while Netflix broke daily support, which was a notable shift. Another one, the biotech sector. The biotech sector broke key daily support yesterday, or two-day support. I wanted to short the biotech sector on bounces. Or 2 days ago, we broke support. Yesterday, the biotech bulls told me, not so fast, because everything was weak and the biotech bulls traded sideways. So at that point in time, it was a bear break with no follow through. And then we see a huge green day today. And so again, it wasn't enough for me to long the biotech sector yesterday, but it was enough for me to not be looking short because the bulls were doing a good job of holding on right after a key support level broke. So again, just that little mini lesson that I just talked about is differentiating between signals that I act on to enter trades and look in a certain direction, or signals that I act on to exit trades that I'm already in, or to lay off a trade and prevent from taking a loss on that trade because I'm seeing little signals. Again, not strong enough signals to be confident in one direction, but strong enough signals to not be confident in the other direction. So not taking a trade can sometimes be valuable. The dollar is rejecting from daily EMA 12 still. So that makes me a lot less interested in adding to any short metals position. As I mentioned yesterday, I started to nibble with some very small starters in gold and silver shorts, and we rejected from resistance. And so if we see breaks of support on the dollar and head to fresh lows and continue to keep daily EMA 12 resistance, I will exit those shorts with small losses and be back to really patient. But certainly a good reminder of waiting for the break. And really what it was PTSD for me with being all over this Netflix rising wedge, but not making nearly as much money as I should have because I was a bit timid shorting while the bulls were still holding on. And so now I see the metals rising wedges and say, okay, I'm going to grab a little bit while we're still within that rising wedge. But we'll see if I end up stopping out or not. But the metals bulls are liking what the dollar is doing, rejecting from resistance and testing a couple daily support levels. So the dollar remains weak as long as daily EMA 12 remains resistance. That's another thing that the broader market bulls really want to see. The dollar with another fresh leg down to lower lows. We got a weekly stair-step pattern the last 5 weeks. But if these inside bars break bear to start the year, that will be 1 point in favor of the bulls for the S&P 500 2-week higher low being set. Apple, daily inside bar, nice bounce 3%. If I'm going to call it a bear break with no follow through, referring to our fear low, I need trend changes. So a bear break with no follow through into a daily bounce is nice, but it has to result in a daily trend change because we could easily stay weak with this current setup. Maybe we just set at a lower high and then another lower low. So again, the other criteria that I need for the S&P 500 2-week inverse head and shoulders, which you're going to hear me talking a lot about the next couple of days, I need to see Apple and Amazon get it together for the bulls. And again, I'm not confident that the S&P 500 is a 2-week inverse head and shoulders, but I'm observing a potential pattern in advance, far in advance, and looking for the little details, that are either going to help me increase the probabilities that it's going to play out or decrease those probabilities. And so I think Amazon's going to be a bigger role, going to play a bigger role here if it were to happen, because Amazon bears are tiring here. We got this downtrend support line, which is now touched 5 or 6 times. And look at Amazon divided by QQQ. This is a falling wedge. So we're watching for this relative weakness, and we've had relative weakness for the last 2 months of trading. We're watching for that to shift into relative strength. Have to get over this 3-2 level here to break these daily lower highs. But again, you can see it's just that balancing out where If this were shares, it's not, but supply is outweighing demand, and now we're leveling out a little bit. And can the scales tilt? And so, in my opinion, if the S&P 500 is going to be a 2-week inverse head and shoulders, this chart needs to break bull. Amazon needs to put on its lead general hat again and start to show us strength. So I'm watching Amazon very closely the next couple of days. Meta bulls are the lead QQQ bulls. Meta broke daily support. Again, we had every reason for Meta to roll over into weakness on this break of 114. Why? Because we rejected from weekly EMA 12, which we've rejected from the entire year. And it's after bouncing 50%. And so to break 114 straight into holding strong, and then to maintain sideways while QQQ and all tech peers are in free fall the last couple of days, a huge vote of confidence. And so I'm bullish Meta until the bears give me a reason not to be. I believe Meta is shaping up to get over weekly EMA 12 for the first time this year. And it's a little mini weekly bull flag, but if we break 124.67, the next level we're looking at is up in the upper 130s. So right now, Meta, there's actually a gap fill. 128.53 would be the next target for that gap fill. If we can see continuation, Meta for me is the lead bull with QQQ related names. The only problem is it's not as important as Apple and Amazon in terms of the weight. What I'm breaking down right now in this video is definitely a bit more advanced, and it feels a bit scatterbrained because I'm just trying to piece together all these little components in my brain succinctly and communicated it all to you. And I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job, but I'm just laying out the bull scenario right now. We know the bear scenario. The bear scenario, QQQ daily lower high, S&P 500 rolls over, and bears keep their control. This is just a one-day bounce that we give back. But I gotta lay out the other side. I'm putting my bull glasses on. That doesn't mean that I'm bullish the broader market. It just means I am not gonna be surprised if the bulls show up here for a couple weeks. And Meta will be leading the charge for QQQ if that happens. Look at Meta divided by QQQ. It's the strongest it's been in months, and it's up at the high. This is exactly what bulls want to see. Netflix divided by QQQ is keeping the bulls confident as long as these higher lows continue to form. And we're going to see a break of this equilibrium sometime next week. The question is, can the weaker names, can Apple divided by QQQ show us any strength? Can it break this downtrend? Can Amazon divided by QQQ be a falling wedge and get over this EMA resistance? So this is what has to happen. QQQ divided by SPY has been all bear. Big green day today, and obviously we see what the market did. QQQ divided by SPY has to change the trend and has to see follow through. So essentially, that's all the things that I need to see. I'm watching probably 4 or 5 moving parts of what has to happen for me to believe that the S&P 500 bulls can be shaping up a 2-week inverse head and shoulders. And 1 week from now, 5 more trading days, we're going to have a lot more information as to whether that is probable or not. Tesla finally getting its bounce going. So again, the analogy from yesterday, the scales all supply outweighing demand. Yesterday, a ton of volume and the scales leveled out with that sideways range, and they flipped. Demand outweighing supply, some shorts covering, and a solid day overall. There's still opportunity in both directions. I mean, we had the gap up open that bears took advantage of for a 3% drop. We then had bulls head to new highs for 5%. We then pulled back for hourly consolidation for 4%. And then into the end of the day, we go up 3%. So there's plenty of opportunity for nailing little 1% moves in there. But bulls did a good job playing defense. We've seen the bears playing defense for a while. Now the bulls played defense. Where did the bulls play defense? They held the low of the day, and then they defended that level, grinding off hourly EMA 12 to shape up the potential hourly bull flag. And so we're here right under the high of the day after hours. If we break 123.57, the next level I'm looking at is 128.62, and then daily EMA 12 will be in play from there. Bears are scouting a daily lower high in Tesla, but it's the kind of thing where you have to take a step back and say, okay, bears had their time. We hit a climax bottom and let the bulls do their thing for a bit. So I made one attempt to short Tesla today, and it was a top fishing play. And I forget exactly what the setup was, but short, might have been this one here. Yep, short, exit, partial on the pullback, and then stop out with the new high of the day, break even. And then after that, just let the bulls have their go of it. But I will be scouting a daily lower high in Tesla. I'm just not doing so aggressively. What I need to see is an hourly rising wedge or an hourly head and shoulders shape up. And we have to lose hourly EMA 12 support for that to happen. So again, that's just a trade that I know sometime in the next few days, I'm going to be scouting for the potential of a Tesla bear swing for a daily lower high being set. It's just not something I'm aggressively scouting. If the trade comes to me and gives me a nice clear setup on the hourly, I will take it, but just in observation mode for the moment. Doing little scalps in both directions for short-term patterns, but I'd like a swing trade for a bigger piece of the pie kind of move. Patiently observing. But a win for the bulls and a strong close for the bulls as well. They closed how they would have liked to have. Semiconductors bounce underway. We know we're scouting a weekly high or low here. Anything above the fear low, again, the inverse head and shoulders is possible here as well, but a ton of proving to be done. Anything under 213 is just a daily lower high. Have to see a big enough bounce to shape up a daily trend change. It's very important to me that the bulls are green tomorrow, because if they're red tomorrow, then it's just, all right, the end of year selling stopped for a day, and that allowed for a bounce to cool off RSI levels, but no follow through on that bounce, no pressure on bears to cover. So really, bulls really want a green day to end the year tomorrow. Man, I try and make a quick video, another 20-minute. Healthcare, good save. Again, it was a red flag to break resistance and close at the low of the day, but still grinding up here. 2-week time frame is a potential cup and handle pattern. So again, if the S&P 500 is a 2-week inverse head and shoulders, this is not your textbook cup and handle because of this action here, but you've got your resistance, you've got a long period of consolidation, you've got your failure to break resistance, and you've got the attempted bull flag. So if the S&P 500 is a 2-week inverse head and shoulders, the healthcare sector will be up at all-time highs within a week or two's time. And we're only 4% away. So it's certainly in play. So that's something we're keeping an eye on. And we got a little daily uptrend here. It's not a very convincing one. But that low, if you want fear in this market, we had fear in tech this week. If you want fear in the market, XLV and XLF must break these consolidation lows. There will be no fear in the S&P 500 if this level holds for XLV and if this level holds for XLF. That is a simple statement for me. And so we got XLF, daily uptrend following through, breaking to the bounce high, and weekly bounce underway. Again, the perspective after today is, man, tech sold off so hard, QQQ couldn't bounce to save its life. Tesla dropped 30% in X amount of days, and yet the S&P 500 is still clinging on to a chance. They're giving themselves a chance. We can at least say that much. IWM bear break straight into the highest level in 5 days. Nice reversal. Key resistance 176.80. IWM is scouting a weekly high or low compared to our double bottom at fear lows. And IWM is a beautiful equilibrium that is looking to continue to tighten up. We're looking for a 2-week high or low. And after tomorrow, all the bulls would have to do is break the high of this week next week. So if we close near the high of the week, we're going to be right there. And that can potentially quickly be a 2-week high or low being set for this equilibrium. The biotech sector. So again, a huge reversal here as well on a support break. Nothing gives confidence to the bulls like a key support break straight into a significant reversal. We do have a downtrending resistance line to be keeping an eye on. Right there. 4 touches. Bunch of support touches. So if we were to see a red day tomorrow, then this resistance line will certainly be relevant. The price level is right there, 83.40. We rejected by 19 cents, so aggressive bears top fishing. Not that level, but a huge day regardless. We were up over 5% for the entire sector. Extremely impressive. And they brought the volume, highest daily volume in over a month. The bulls in the market are giving themselves a chance. That's it. And so now we observe on a daily basis the probability needle. I'm going to say the probability right now for a 2-week inverse head and shoulders on the S&P 500 is 38%. And that's going to change every day that we get information. And if Amazon divided by QQQ breaks that bullish, this falling wedge, and if QQQ divided by SPY gets multiple days of bounce to give themselves a chance to change the daily trend eventually, then that probability is going to go up to 45, maybe 50% chance. But I've got to see these things happen. So gold has to be, if the bear trade's going to work out from here, it has to be a head and shoulders on the 12-hour. We would have to fail the high and drop down and break 1797. That's now the key support. And of course, if we head up and hit a new high, it's still possible to be a rising wedge, but that would tell me get back to the sidelines and be patient. And again, it's definitely very small starter positions that I'm in because I entered before confirmation on the dollar. So I will have no problem, eating a little loss to be patient again, but we'll see if the bulls force me to do that. Silver is an equilibrium on the 12-hour, high, higher, low, lower, high, higher, low. So we would have to fail resistance and then break support if this bear trade were going to play out from here. Miners, inside bar closed fairly weak. Certainly a weaker day than the metals. Oil still trying to hold daily EMA support. We did hit a lower low, but no follow through. It's got to be an inverse head and shoulders on the 4-hour. Need to confirm a 4-hour uptrend to the bulls to have confidence a daily higher low is being set. And natural gas still all bears. 4-hour downtrend. Bears looking a little bit tired just because the bear breaks are starting to lack a bit of follow through. We'll watch for a falling wedge to try and shape up. That's worth paying attention to, but only the most aggressive bulls would care about that because we're just going to look for lower highs on longer term time frames on any natural gas bounces. What'd the energy sector do? Still holding on there. All right. Tomorrow's an important day just to try and shift that probability needle a little bit. QQQ divided by SPY needs to follow through on this bounce to show the NASDAQ leading. I'm still bearish overall. One day is not enough, but one day is enough for me to say, okay, establish your clear criteria of what you will need to see to join Team Bull and to be a believer in the S&P 500 2-week inverse head and shoulders. I have no idea if that was coherent. We'll see. Sometimes I know when I have a fire video, no idea. So let me know. Hope you're well. Do good things. Have a great long holiday weekend again. Happy New Year's. Going to be putting out more videos and things over the weekend. See you soon. See you tomorrow. I think we're on story time chapter 7. And now we are leaving the place that I'm going to go back to house sit. But in the meantime, I got a couple weeks where I'm going to explore Colorado. First things first, heading through Rocky Mountain National Park. So just a bunch of exploring around every day, just an adventure to hike and camp and look at new things. And I was planning on going westward and then wrapping my way around through Telluride and then swinging back down to the south through Durango and Mesa Verde National Park. So this is up on Rocky Mountain National Park. And some of the roads, the elevation that they get up to and the mountains and the passes that they go through are pretty incredible. If you've never been in big mountains, if you've only been on the East Coast, here in North Carolina, 4,000 feet is a big mountain. And over there, you're looking at 13,000 plus feet. And you can be driving up over, 10,000, 11,000 feet. Very significant. So, nice wildflowers. When you're there in June and July, wildflowers can be popping off. And I was really taken aback and surprised by how many wildflowers there are in some of these fields. And of course, this cell phone picture doesn't do justice for the colors, but this was a nice lake. And again, all these lakes are pretty cool colors because a lot of them have runoff from these mountains and a bunch of minerals. And again, the water's freezing, but cool places to camp around. And in this particular instance, someone got lost up here. So I say how normally it's very quiet at about 5 p.m., but on this day, I don't know how you get lost. It wasn't like a kid got lost. A grown man got lost from around this lake. This is the destination where the trail leads up to. Anyway, so he was lost, and he got far enough away that, you know, we're screaming at the top of our lungs, and we can only hear the tiny faintest yell in the distance. So we know he's somewhere out there. We know it's getting dark, and he might have to sleep outside. So fortunately that didn't happen. And he stumbled his way. From the last people that came up onto the trail, they said, yeah, some guy stumbled his way out and was asking if he was on the right trail and was heading back down. So that was nice. I think he climbed his way up to a better perspective to try and see where he was at. Don't get lost, because even the most well-marked trails and well-marked landmarks, you can still get lost, I guess. So next I went to, this is up near Aspen, Conundrum Hot Springs. This is definitely one of the highlights of the trip, and my favorite hot springs out of, 15 plus that I've been in, my favorite by far. It's an 8-mile hike to get up to it on some pretty steep elevation. So it's a whole day's journey, and that keeps out, that's almost like a selective barrier that the people are going to make it up there are people that really want to be there, not the kind of people that just pull off the road and, hop onto a waterfall for 10 minutes. So hiked my way up. And this is a view from the top. The tents and the camping area is behind us up on the hill. And there's the view of the valley. And this is the hot springs. And we're back to getting naked in the stories because that's the only way to get into a hot spring. So it was just a lot of fun. And it was a completely different contrast in terms of the kind of people that were there. Because I went up there on a weekday and I was only planning on going for 2 nights. And I got up there and said, this is the coolest place. I need to stay here. So I started rationing my food and trying to stay as long as possible. And it was the kind of thing where I went up on the weekday. So I was there maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I ended up stretching it to 4 nights. And the first few nights, it was very calm, very laid back. The people that were there were some really cool people, had some great conversations in there, talking about lucid dreaming. That's where I was talking about lucid dreaming with a young woman. And then she came back the next day and said that she had her first one after our conversation. And just very mellow and low key. And then there was a point in time where I was just sitting up there in this bigger pool by myself at maybe 4 o'clock, and I was naked, and one by one groups just started coming up, and they all started coming at the same time. And it's younger college kids, and they got the boombox, and they got a pool volleyball, a blow up ball, and we're passing around bottles of rum, and I got some moonshine that my buddy made, and everybody's trading things. And so it gets to the point where everybody's just hopping in, and everybody is wearing bathing suits, because you kind of get the feel, if there's a few naked people, everybody's more comfortable getting naked. If everybody's wearing their bathing suit, everybody stays wearing their bathing suit. So I was already in the water naked. Literally 20, 25 more people are in here with me, to the point where, everybody's sitting in a circle and there's not really a whole lot of space. I'm the only naked person in that hot spring. It was just a really funny scenario because no one knew it until I got out, and I'm just this naked dude who's been in there the whole time. So that was funny, but it was a fun contrast because, again, like I said, I wasn't really interacting with people much on this trip other than passing conversations, and it was really nice to be hanging out with people my age, and definitely a bit of a party up there on the weekend nights, and that was fun. Ended up eating glacier lilies to try and ration my food and make it last longer. So these are edible and pretty darn good, actually. So I was going around and eating a bunch of those, and I would ration my rice. And I made the mistake of bringing rice, but not bringing anything but brown rice. And when you eat brown rice every single day, it gets really, really boring. I didn't bring anything to spice it up. So there were some other hikers there who had some soy sauce, and they left soy sauce with me. And that was like a gift that completely changed everything, because brown rice day after day was getting very old. There was also an older guy up there, and he lives, you could call him homeless, but he chose to live in these national areas, and they have rules where you can only stay in certain areas 6 months of the year. So you would have 2 camps, and he'd go 6 months to 6 months and just back and forth. And he would pretty much live up here at the hot spring, and he's been going for decades. And if anybody's been to this hot spring, there's a decent chance that you saw him. But he was just very knowledgeable on the area, and he had all these great stories. They were talking about how they brought a squash one time and put the squash under some rocks at the bottom of the hot spring, and a couple days later it was cooked, and they took it out and ate it. He also had some stories. Well, he had a lot of stories. that was a very interesting individual, someone that knowingly chooses to live on the land like that. And this man, the size of the pack, he was just this, frail little guy, but the size of the pack and the weight that he was carrying was putting me to shame. So it was extremely impressive how he was physically capable. And again, he's just been doing it for decades. So that's that. Go to Conundrum Hot Springs, Colorado, near Aspen. Definitely worth the hike up, although they could at this point. There were some issues where they were thinking about closing it and blah, 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 and the park services and all that. So double check and make sure it's still up. Hope you have a good day.